Uh, Hello, good afternoon. This is Al Shibo, your host, and we're starting our 12:30 session, and we will hear from our sponsor for this session, Craig Ritter with Ritter Marketing. But before I do that, again, I remind you to make sure that we have your agent number on our profile, and so that we're able to give you proper credit for and it's based on your attendance. If you have any questions, type them at the chat box, and we'll keep on monitoring during the meeting. And we're going to do a Q&A at the end, but just type your questions there. And before the session begins, again, we'd like to hear a word from our sponsors, because without them, none of this would be possible. So please go to the virtual trade show meetings. And with that, I'll let Craig Ritter talk about Ritter Marketing.
Thanks, Al. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'll be pretty brief, but it's really our pleasure to be able to sponsor this virtual seminar. It's an amazing amount of effort went into providing this for the agents in Georgia. So just wanted to express my deep appreciation for all the effort that went into making this happen today. And also my pleasure just to be able to play a small part in helping make it happen. So Ritter Insurance Marketing is a Medicare focused field marketing organization, or FMO. We represent a lot of the companies that you're familiar with in the Georgia market, in the Medicare Advantage, Medicare Supplement, and Medicare Part D space. We also do specialize in providing our own technology, so we write our own proprietary software products just to try to make it easier for agents to be able to manage their business, to be able to evaluate plans, and to be able to enroll their clients in plans that best meet their needs. So without further ado, Al, I'll turn it back to you with my deep appreciation, and let you move forward with the program.
All righty. Well, thank you for joining us, Craig. And now it's my privilege to introduce Andy Neary. He's a healthcare strategist, business coach, and so you'll find his bio on the Pathable website. But anyhow, without further ado, here's Andy.
Al, thank you very much, guys. I'm excited to be here. I hope everybody's enjoying the summit right now, or the Medicare event. I know it's weird to do virtual talks from my house, so my goal with my keynotes virtually are to make them as fun as we can make them, because I know you might be sitting at your desk, you might be sitting on your couch, at your kitchen table, wherever, but we are going to have a little fun today. Here's my goal for you. I want to help you develop a major league mindset, and you'll know pretty quickly why I use that tagline, because right now there is more noise in our industry than ever before, and I want to help you take the mound, level up, and stand out in your market. And there's many ways you can do it today. In fact, it's never been easier to do it today if you are willing to look at different ways of promoting your business, prospecting, things like that. And that's what I want to share with you today. But before we get into all the good stuff, I want to take a step back, because there might be some of you on this call who's like, who the heck is Andy Neary? So let me tell you a little bit about my story. And I'm going to kick it off by actually asking you to close your eyes. And this is weird to do because I can't see any of you, but I want you to close your eyes for a second. And I want you to go back to your childhood. I want you to go back to when you were 6, 8, 10 years old. And I want you to think about your childhood dream. What was it you wanted to be when you were a kid? For some of you, it might have been firefighter, might have been a teacher, an astronaut. But I'm willing to bet for very few of you, if any of you, in your head right now, you have the image of becoming a health insurance broker, right? Because most of us, I know myself included, found ourselves in this industry. We didn't try to get in the industry by design. And so my story, my childhood dream was to grow up and become a professional baseball player. So you can open your eyes right now. You see, I grew up in a baseball family. My dad was a pretty good college baseball player, and he was also an extremely successful, longtime high school baseball coach in my hometown. He was the head coach for 34 years. He was my coach. And so I grew up with the tools, the mentorship, the knowledge in my own house to become a very good baseball player. In fact, by the time my senior season rolled around, I had an opportunity to play at the next level. Now, going into my senior season, I only had one scholarship offer that I had accepted, and that was to play baseball at Division II Winona State University up in Winona, Minnesota. So a Division II college baseball program. But I wasn't satisfied. You see, going into my senior year, I knew I could play better. I knew I could play bigger. I wanted to play Division I baseball. And so spring rolls around, baseball season rolls around, and now it's time to prove myself. So had a good senior year, but going into the playoffs, my senior season, I had one last chance to prove I could play Division I baseball. And it just so happened I was pitching that night, and the coaching staff from the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee was there to watch me pitch. Division I program in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So I knew this was my shot, right? And I knew that if I was going to play Division I baseball, it was going to be on the mound. I was a shortstop as well, but I knew my future was going to be on the mound. And that night I had one shot to play big. And I did. That night I threw a one-hitter. For the baseball fans in the room, you know what a one-hitter is. Literally, I gave up a hit on the first pitch of the game. And that was it. And so later that night, I get a call from the head coach at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee and was offered a scholarship. So here I was with maybe 1 week to go, 2 weeks to go in the season. I now have my shot to play bigger. I have my shot to play Division I baseball. And so I go to UWM, and I quite frankly struggled for a few years. My first 2 years on the mound at UWM were not very good. I was focused on the wrong things. My daily habits weren't what they should be. In fact, I made a lot of bad decisions. I spent a lot of time in the weight room trying to gain weight, trying to bulk up. And for baseball fans on this call, you know, as a pitcher, the last thing you want to do is try to bulk up. The last thing you want is that muscle-bound bicep. So my first 2 years on the mound at UWM were really bad. In fact, by the end of my sophomore season, I wanted to quit. I wanted to give it all up. But something happened between the summer of my sophomore and junior seasons. I was named captain. So even though I didn't have confidence in myself in that moment, my team did. And by becoming the captain of the team, that brought back that confidence I needed. I started working on the right things off the field to help me become successful on it. And by the time my senior season rolled around, I had given myself a chance to play big one more time. You see, I signed a contract to pitch in the Milwaukee Brewers organization. So I signed as a free agent, went out to Helena, Montana, and spent the summer of 2000 pitching for the Helena Brewers. Now, guys, I wish I could keep sharing stories with you of success and how I overcame the odds as a 5'9", 165-pound pitcher, and I made it all the way to Major League Baseball. But that didn't happen because when I got to pro ball, when I got to the Brewers organization, this failed me. My mindset failed me. Instead of wanting to stand out like I had done in high school, like I had done later on in my college career, I just wanted to fit in. Here I was playing on the same field with guys from much bigger Division I schools, LSU, Georgia, Florida, and I didn't view myself just like them. I compared myself, and that ultimately impacted my performance. It's why my professional baseball career lasted so short. And that's one thing we're going to talk about today in this keynote is how do you, as a broker in Georgia, stand out amongst your competitors in your market? Because I failed to do that when I got to pro ball. The other thing I failed to do was to focus on my daily habits, the things that had made me so successful in high school and college, I got away from in pro ball. And that ultimately led to my demise. So baseball career was over. I now get into the business world as a life insurance salesman. And all the things that impacted me up here between the ears continued to impact me early in my business career. I compared myself. I just wanted to fit in. I was okay with mediocre. And it showed in my sales results, trust me. And then I moved from life insurance into the health insurance business where I've been for the last 17 years. And again, early on, those mindset limitations continued to impact me. I was doing nothing to stand out from my competition. I was just trying to get by to do the minimum. I was okay with mediocre because I didn't want to stand out. Now, the competitive juices still always flowed in me, even when my baseball days were over. So about 2008, 2009, I decided to get heavy into Ironman competitions. For those on the call who don't know much about the Ironman circuit or an Ironman race, here's what it consists of. You start off a race swimming 2.4 miles. Once you're done swimming 2.4 miles, you get on your bike and you ride 112 miles. Now you think that's crazy, right? You get off the bike after 112 miles, about 5 to 6 hours on the bike, and now you have to run a marathon all in one day. And I got deep into that competition. It helped me get my daily habits back. It helped me put that mindset back of I want to win, I need to stand out. Because the one thing people don't tell you when you compete in Ironmans is, yes, there is 3 sports, swimming, biking, and running, but there's a 4th sport nobody talks about, and that is how you control your mindset. The toughest thing on that day of the race, you can see I finished the race in 10 hours and 46 seconds. This was my second race. That's a long day, and the one thing that you have to battle over the course of that day is not only your body starting to fail you, but more than anything, your mindset failing you. And so by competing in the Ironman races, I was able to get back that mentality, that mindset I needed to be mentally tough, bulletproof tough up here, because I knew now what I had to start doing to stand out in my career, whether it was sports or business in the health insurance industry. Now, this is the most important part of the story for those who have no idea who I am. And this is why I'm here right now talking to you guys today. 2014, Amy and I, my girlfriend, decided to move out here to Colorado. And when we moved out here, I went to work for an independent health insurance agency just south of where we live. And I noticed something really quick when I got hired. I was the only producer they had. As an agency, they didn't know what the word marketing meant. And I'm now in a market no one knows who I am. And it was that day, May 30th, 2014, I decided to start growing my personal brand. And it's been 6 years of trial and error, 6 years of failure. But what it's allowed me to do now is it's allowed me to have an extremely successful health insurance career. It's allowed me to stand out in this industry, in my markets. It's allowed me to be a keynote speaker in the industry. And it's now allowed me to become a business coach, helping other health insurance advisors stand out in their market. So I didn't share all of that to brag. That's not the point. What I wanted to share is the purpose of this talk is to tell you, you can do the same thing. It's not that hard. You just need a few steps and a few ideas, a few pieces of information to help you take the knowledge you already have in your brain and apply it to how you are sharing it with your market so you can stand out. Because at the end of the day, if you want to win in business in this industry moving forward, it is a game of attention. You have to stand out from your competition. You have to share more information than any of your competitors share. And you have to become the go-to person in your market. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do today. So let's level set now. Now you know who the heck I am. Let's talk about how my life's journey can help you win in your business, can help your agency grow, can help you grow, can help you create more opportunities for revenue. But before we get there, we've got to address some of the problems going on today in the industry. What's holding you back from standing out? And what are the reasons why you are not standing out? Because if you are a broker on this call today, I'm guessing you have one or all of these in your head right now. Number one, you want certainty. Man, if there's one thing 2020 has taught us, right? is there is so much uncertainty out there. So wouldn't you like to have certainty around knowing you have a pipeline that's full, you have a ton of opportunities to go after, and you don't have to worry about sitting there fretting about where that next prospecting opportunity is coming from? Because when you create certainty around those opportunities, guess what? You definitely create growth, right? You're creating more revenue for your own wallet. You're creating revenue for your agency. You're creating revenue for your employees. And then significance. The purpose of the significance is, wouldn't it be nice to be that go-to person in your market when it comes to health insurance, whether that's Medicare, whether that's small group business, self-funding, I don't care. Wouldn't it be great to know that you are the one people look to when they need to solve that specific problem? That's what I want to show you today, is how to create certainty, how to grow your business, but also how to become that go-to authority in your market. We're going to do that in the next 35 minutes. So what are some of the problems right now? Why are brokers having such a hard time standing out today? Number one, by far and away, this is the biggest problem we have in the industry right now. There's so much noise. Social media, online presence, online tools have shrunk our market like never before. There was a time before social media, right? None of us knew each other unless you went to GAHU meetings or you went to the national convention. But today, everybody knows everybody, which means we're all learning the same stuff at the same time, which then means we're all saying the same things at the same time. So it is harder today than it's ever been to rise above the noise that's in the industry. The second thing is, whether you like it or not, if we're not saying the right things, your prospects are viewing you just like every other broker in your market. Oh, you're a health insurance broker. Now you've been bucketed with everybody else. And again, winning business just became harder if you're not standing out. And the third reason is no one knows who you are right now. You're not putting yourself out there. You're not sharing your message far and wide. It has never been easier than to do it today with all the tools, whether it's social media, your website, you name it. It has never been easier to stand out and share your message like it is today. Now, there's a bonus challenge we all face right now, right? And that's this puppy. Anybody predict that this would be the year that we are now dealing with on September 24th? I know I had a lot of big goals going into this year. I had a lot of aspirations going in this year. You might be sitting there you had lofty revenue goals. You had lofty growth goals for your agency. And if you've hit them already or you're still hitting them, kudos to you, because I can tell you 9 out of 10 brokers right now, 9 out of 10 agencies are way behind their goals because the unexpected happened. And for the brokers that really got exposed, it was the brokers who spent the majority of their time picking up the phone cold calling. It was the brokers who generated business, networking at live events. It was brokers who literally pounded the pavement and knocked on doors. Guess what? For 3, 4, 5 months, you literally couldn't do that. And they got exposed. If there's one thing that COVID, that 2020 has taught us, is if you do not have an online presence right now, you're irrelevant. Whether it's your website, whether it's you on social media, on platforms like LinkedIn, it's you creating webinars. If you are not online right now, no one knows who you are. But I'm going to help you fix that today. Because at the end of the day, you are sitting here right now, right? How many of you want to pull your hair out like this poor guy has already done? Because 2020, you didn't plan for it to happen. It wasn't in the playbook. It wasn't part of the blueprint. But here you are right now at the end of September going, how in the world are we going to finish the year strong? How in the world are we going to build a foundation to keep growing after 2020? The good news is you're not alone. The majority of the industry is facing this right now. But my goal today is to help you fix that. I want you to grab the reins. I want you to start sharing you with the world, share your agency with the world, because I want you standing out and creating so many opportunities for your agency, you don't know what to do with them. So let's talk about how we start doing that. We have to remember that winning business, growing revenue for your agency, earning that sale from that new prospect requires people to know you, like you, and trust you. And here's what the beauty of having an online presence has done for me, and I know it can do for you, is if you put yourself out on social media, you host webinars, you have a great website, people definitely will get to know you. And if you're willing to share your story, if you're willing to share how you do what you do, if you're willing to share how you help your clients succeed, you're giving your audience, your target market, the chance to like you even before they meet you. So now if you have prospects who know you, you have prospects who like you, and they may not have met you yet, gaining their trust to win their business becomes so much easier. Now, I get it. In 2020, it's easy to sit there and go, but Andy, 2020, no one's taking my calls. No one's making any decisions right now. There is definitely some truth around that. There's absolute truth around that. But what I'm about to teach you is going to help you stay top of mind. It's going to help you be seen by your prospects more than any other competitor in your market. And when you get consistent about doing that and persistent about doing that and patient, that you're going to grow a long-term foundation for yourself, I promise you, you will win. Now, quick housekeeping rule about what before I share with what I'm about to share. If you're a broker sitting on this call right now and you have about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years left before you retire, you're kind of just maintaining a book of business and you're just, for lack of better words, riding it out until you're ready to let it go, pass it on, or sell it. Honestly, you could probably take what I have to say with a little grain of salt. But if you're not in that boat right now, I promise you what you're about to learn is going to help you guys grow your business consistently over the long term. And I keep saying the words consistent and long term because here's something I want to address that is a problem in our industry. Too many brokers just focus on short-term wins. They want to be the overnight success. They want the hack. They want the silver bullet that's going to help them win all this business. I'm not going to teach you that because it doesn't exist. I'm going to teach you how to grow a long-term business, a long-term successful business by being the one who's putting yourself out there all the time to consistently have a full pipeline, to consistently create opportunities for you and your agency. So let's dive into that. Let's start figuring out how we can do that. The first thing you need to do, and I want you to start writing this stuff down because these are activities. I want to make this talk super tangible. These are activities you can do this week and take the time to do this week. The first thing you need to ask yourself is you have to be able to answer 3 questions clearly. First question, what problem do you solve? I want you to look at who you are, what you do for a living, your agency. What is the number 1 problem your agency solves? Take the time, not right now, but take the time and sit down and figure that answer out. Many people say, well, I solve health insurance costs. I don't think so. If you're working with human resource professionals, there's a good chance you're solving the problem of time, right? How many HR professionals out there right now are wearing multiple hats? They're just trying to keep employees employed or bring them back, and they don't have time to maintain a good benefit package. But if they've got you in their life, you're solving the problem of time. If you're working with CFOs, I bet you the real problem you might be solving is trying to find money, lack of sales, the need to reduce expenses. So it's easy to think the problem you solve is the obvious one. It's not. I want you to think about what problem do you and your agency truly solve? Once you have that down, the next question you need to clearly answer is, what's your process for solving it? What is that 3, 4, or 5-step process that your agency uses to help take prospects who are struggling and make them successful clients? When you can clearly articulate your process, your plan, and you have it defined, the game changes, because when you know exactly the process you have to help people win, what happens is instead of you going out and getting interviewed by prospects, you actually start interviewing them to see if they're a fit for your process. It's a whole different way of playing this game. So the first question you need to answer is, what's the problem you solve? Second question is, what is your process for solving it? And the third question then is, what's the result your clients get when you walk them through that process? Paint the destination. When you have a prospect and you make them a client, what does their life look like after they hire you? Because when you can clearly define these three, or clearly answer these three questions, what problem you solve, what's your process for solving it, and what's your client's life like after you help them solve it, now you have the groundwork for how you're going to share that message with the market. Now, this is where most brokers stop me and they say, Andy, okay, I get this. I like this, but I don't know if I want to be sharing that message with the market because competition might be listening in. Guys, I'm going to tell you something, and these are the words of Andy Neary, in my opinion. No one's stealing your stuff. If you share that message with the market, you put it out on LinkedIn, you put it on your website, your competition is too lazy to do anything about it. So share. 2020 is about sharing. You have to share more than any of your competition right now. So now that you got the foundation of the three questions, what problem, your process, what your client's life is like, now we need to start telling your ideal client story. So who is your ideal client? Because there is an ideal client in your life. And this is the easiest way to answer this question. I want you to look at your book of business. And again, you don't have to do it right now. I want you to pick out your favorite client. Literally, who is your favorite client? What is his name or her name? What position are they in their company? Are they an HR professional or director? Are they a CFO, a COO, the president? What kind of business do they run? Are they a law firm? Are they a blue-collar manufacturer? I want you to take the time to lay out your favorite client. Name, position in company, type of company. What about them you like? Do they listen? Are they open-minded? Do they challenge you? What are all the personality traits you like about that individual? Because when you pick out your favorite client, I can guarantee one thing that is common amongst all of your best clients is you love them because they let you do your best work. Now, imagine building an entire book of business with that type of client. You'd have less stress, more fun, and your book would grow a lot faster. We as brokers have all been guilty of bringing in that client, new revenue, and 3 months later, the account management team hates us. Why? The client sucks. It sucks your time. It sucks your energy, but hey, it's money. We don't want those anymore. Let's go out and build books of business with our ideal target clients. Now, we have got to answer some questions. We got to tell that client story. And this is the story journey we're going to walk through. Every client has a goal. So I want you to take the time. What is that client's goal? That's John, the CFO, Jane, the HR director. What is his or her goal when they come to work every day? Because with every goal, there's a challenge. If Jane has the goal of keeping her employees as happy as she can every single day, or if her goal is to go out and attract, retain, and keep the best employees, what's the one thing keeping her from doing that right now? Could be the health insurance plan. It could be the benefits package. So there's an ideal client with a goal, with a challenge keeping them from hitting that goal. And it's causing frustration. It's causing stress. It's causing anxiety. Trust me, all of our prospects and clients are going through that right now. But when they recognize they have a challenge, this is where you come in. They need a guide. You are that guide. You are their Yoda. They're Luke Skywalker. You are their guide. Now, here's the thing I want you to remember. Your prospect, your client you're going after, you're talking to, they're the hero of this story, not you. You're just the guide to help them become the hero. Because when they find you the guide, they love you because you have a plan. Remember question 2 you answered in the first 3 questions, that process that you have to help them solve their problem? You're the guide that comes to save the day to give them a plan. Because it's your plan that's going to help them achieve success. But more importantly, you're going to help them avoid failure. Because every time a prospect engages with you, they have 2 choices, right? They can hire you or they don't have to. They can keep doing what they've always done. So it's important we paint that picture of what their life would look like if they fail to hire you, if they stay on that hamster wheel. and it just keeps spinning down, down, down. And the beauty of you answering those first 3 questions is this helps create this story. Because if you're giving them the plan, that's your process for helping solve the problem. That's going to help them achieve success. That's what your client's life looks like after they hire you. You've already answered those questions. Now, here is where this story becomes so impactful. Number 1, all of your marketing should tell that story, should be centered some way, shape, or form around that story. Now, again, this is where many brokers go, but Andy, I feel like I'm narrowing my market a little too much if I tell that story. Exactly. That's what you want to do. The biggest mistake agencies make today is they feel they can serve everybody. The problem is when you try to serve everybody, you serve nobody because your message is vanilla, your marketing is boring, and nobody comes to see you. You have to get laser focused about who it is you want to go after, and you tell their story over and over and over again. Now, here's where this story becomes more impactful. You're now in a proposal with a client, a prospect. Here's where most brokers go wrong in proposals. You got a prospect who's excited, a prospect who's interested. Now it's time for you to propose. And 100% of that proposal meeting is spent on you telling them how great you are, you telling them how big your agency is, you telling them how all the resources you have, on and on and on. You're beating your chest. Never once did you tell their story. If you literally flip the script in proposals and spent the time telling their story, this is you. This is what you want. But here's why you're not getting it. And we're so excited to be here today, the guide, because we're going to show you a plan to help you solve that problem so you can have, your life can look like this, success. Because if you keep doing the same thing, your life's going to look like this, failure. If you spent the majority of your proposals telling that story, I promise you, you are going to win more business more often. Your closing rates are going to go from 10, 20% to 50, 60% because you're making it all about them. You're not making it about you and your agency. Now, last but certainly not least, you now know the 3 questions you need to answer. What problem you solve? What's the process for solving it? And what's your client's life look like after they hire you? You now know the journey of your ideal client. You know who your ideal client is, and you want to speak to them now. Now it's about how you're going to share that message far and wide. So I'm going to teach you a process I call the 5 pillars of awareness. Now that you know your story, you know who you want to go after, there are 5 pillars you need to share that message far and wide. The first one, it's one you've already always used, centers of influence. But here's where you take the power of centers of influence to the next level. I'm sure brokers on this call, you have an attorney, you have a CPA, a golf buddy, somebody who is referring you business, right? But I'm willing to bet if a prospect asked who you are and what you do, most of your centers of influence would say, oh, Steve over here is a health insurance broker. However, if you take the time to share with your centers of influence that story of your ideal client we just walked through, you now just improved and enhanced that center of influence becoming a power salesperson for you because they know exactly who you're trying to work with. They know exactly the story you're telling, and they now can identify exactly who they should be referring to you. Once you know the story of your ideal client, it will enhance the power of the centers of influence you have in your life. The second thing, email. Emails are still a very effective tool for communicating that message and the story if you do them correctly. Here's where most brokers and agencies go wrong. Most brokers today or agencies today use their email campaigns with prospects to share some letter, some update they copied from Xywave or some legislative update from Washington, D.C. I'm going to tell you something. Nobody's reading those. What you want to do with your emails is you want to take the time, if it's somebody on your team, if it's you, the broker, take the time to write good emails. Make them sound like they come from you. Teach your prospects something. Share value in those emails. Again, guys, they're not giving the emails to your competition to use against you. But the more you teach, the more value you bring in your email campaigns, the more business you're going to win, the more interest you're going to gain from those prospects on that list. Because your competition, every one of them is sharing the company newsletter, Xywave updates, and legislative updates. Be different. The third one is the most talked about in our industry right now: social media. I guarantee in this keynote right now, there's a broker listening in that's saying, social media doesn't work in my market. And I hear you, but I'm going to challenge you. It's 2020. And if 2020, if this pandemic taught us one thing, as I said earlier, you don't have an online presence, you're irrelevant. Whether it's a good website or you starting to put yourself out there, sharing good information on social media, you're irrelevant today. And the easiest platform to do it on if you're a broker is LinkedIn. Why? Because your audience is sitting, CFOs, HR directors, companies, they're mainly sitting on LinkedIn. They might be sitting on Facebook as well, but your audience is sitting on LinkedIn, sitting on social media. So why not take that message, that story you have of your ideal client, and talk about the struggles they go through, talk about the challenges they go through, talk about case studies of how you help the client win, how you help the client solve their problem. Again, guys, your competition's not going to use it against you, but the more you put yourself out there, the more you teach, the more your audience sees you, you are winning the game of attention and you are going to win more business. I promise, I promise, I promise. So take the time. If you don't have a LinkedIn profile right now, I highly suggest you create one. And if you do, start reaching out, looking for ideal clients or prospects on LinkedIn that are active and connect with them. It's a tool we have to have these days. Now, the fourth pillar is webinars. I know we're all sick of webinars right now. We've all been on far too many Zoom calls, Zoom webinars. We're zoomed out right now. But if you can use the power of webinars to your advantage, what you are doing is bringing multiple prospects to you at one time. Now, here's the beauty of a webinar. The question I get immediately from brokers and agencies is, what do we talk about? Just tell your ideal client's story. If you held a webinar saying, this is you, you're an HR director, you're a CFO, this is what you want, this is why you're not getting it, so let's introduce you to a solution, a plan to help you solve it, and this is what success could look like. Here's a case study of a client that's had that success, and here's what would happen if you keep doing the same thing, and you just literally rinsed and repeated that kind of webinar over and over. I promise you, you will bring multiple prospects to you, and you will generate prospecting calls. You will generate pipeline activities. The last pillar, and I think the most important, but the one that's been impacted the most this year, is public speaking. Look at me. I'm speaking to you guys right now. I am literally in my living room in my house in Fort Collins, Colorado. I am not standing on a stage in Savannah talking to you guys right now. But public speaking, this is still a form of public speaking. Guys, when you put yourself out there on stage, whether it's in a living room these days or on a stage in the future, you become the authority. You have the undivided attention of 10, 20, 50 prospects at one time, and you are the authority talking about your specific subject while you're on stage. It is the most powerful way to create the authority figure in your market. And so here is why I share these 5 pillars of awareness with you, and why I think they are so important. For the majority of agencies in this market today, even in 2020, when I ask brokers what their top prospecting strategies are, time and time again, I will hear cold calling, pounding the pavement. I'm here to tell you, those were the strategies in 1985. They still can be part of your prospecting in 2020, but with the tools and the technology we have today, they can't be the main source of your prospecting. When you work with centers of influence, they can bring you multiple prospects. When you put yourself out there by creating good email campaigns, you could be talking to hundreds of prospects at once. When you put yourself out on social media, hundreds, if not thousands of eyeballs can see it. Webinars, you're bringing 10, 20, 50 prospects in. And when you public speak, again, you're getting multiple prospects to look at you as an authority at one time. The beauty of 2020, the beauty of the technology we have these days is that you can get your message in front of audiences far and wide quicker than ever before. A hell of a lot more effective than cold calling and pounding the pavement. Now, the last pillar I don't normally share, but I'm going to share because of the pandemic, is websites. Take the time to create a good website. Please. I see too many agencies right now that are out talking to prospects saying one thing, and then I go to their website and it says something totally different. The second your website doesn't jive with what your mouth is saying, you've lost credibility. Take the time to look at your website and make sure the messaging coming from the website is exactly what's coming out of your mouth. And guess what? All you have to do is tell that ideal client story on it. And the key with websites right now is, remember, the game has changed on websites. They used to be a platform to talk all about you and your agency. It's now a platform to talk all about your prospects. So make it about them, not about you, and that will help enhance your website. So, guys, in conclusion, if you take the time, remember, there is a lot of noise out there right now in this industry. We all look the same if we don't sound different, and nobody knows us if we're not putting ourselves out there. But if you take the time right now and you answer those 3 questions clearly, what problem do you solve? What's the process for solving it? And what's your client's life look like after solving it? And then you dive into figuring out who your ideal client is. What's their goal? What's their challenge? How do you have a plan that's going to help them have success and avoid failure? And then you get omnipresence by sharing that message with centers of influence, emails, social media, webinars, public speaking on your website. I promise you, you will get more attention than your competition. You will create more opportunities for your competition so you can do what you do best. And that is win business. So if there's anything you take from me today, it's get consistent with sharing good content, with teaching your prospects how to win. Be persistent about constantly staying front of mind in their hearts and in their souls. And then be patient with yourself. Guys, there's a lot of people behind their sales goals right now because of COVID. We're all going through it. But if you stay patient enough, you stay long-term thinking enough, you'll be able to build one hell of a little personal brand for you and your agency, and you will stay top of mind in your prospects. You will gain more attention and win more business than your competition. Again, like I said at the beginning of this, I didn't dream of becoming a health insurance broker. I don't think you did either. But if you effectively use the tools and technology and the online presence we have available to us today, you're going to be damn happy you've been in this business. So with that being said, that's all I got. Al, questions? I love Q&A, so I'd love to go into Q&A if people got questions.
Great presentation. I really enjoyed your the thought process that you had. I don't see any questions per se. Let's see. Now, tell me what that sounds. Some of your story sounds like the story brand. Building a story brand is that what's his name? Donald Miller.
Yes, if I could reach that far, I'd grab the book. Absolutely. If there's one book every agency in this industry should read, is Building a Story Brand. I believe last year, I think you guys might have had David Saltzman speak as well, and he definitely talks about the story brand. Building a Story Brand, guys, is one of the most powerful marketing books you will ever read. It's about how to keep marketing simple, clear, and make it very easy and obvious for your audience to take action. So yes, if you haven't read that book yet, do yourself a favor and do it.
I like the simplicity of what problem do I solve? What is the process to solve it? And what are the results my clients will get? That's pretty good stuff. I really the challenge a lot of times is that we get so busy with trying to put out fires that that we just don't do it. You know, we have good intentions, but you know what they say about, you know,
yeah. Well, and I'll say that, I'll say this too, and I'm going to put this up there. If anybody wants to connect, so one thing I do coach, and this is going to answer your question, time management. If anybody wants to connect with me, two ways. You can email me at andy@majorleaguemindset.com. Happy to jump on a call with you if you guys want to talk about these questions, you know, the story, the journey, how you share it. Also, I have a text community. So if anybody wants to join my text community, every week I send out coaching content. And all you got to do is text the word mindset to 414-622-1462. But to answer your question, Al, with time management, the thing that makes the industry unique is most of us play multiple roles. So you're part producer, you're part manager because you're probably managing a book of business or even people on your team, but you're also part leader because you probably run the agency. So what you have to get really good at from a time management perspective is how you block your days to be able to focus on all of those. So a very simple tool that I teach people on time blocking is if you play multiple roles, just block your days in halves. So for example, we can say that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are always good prospecting days, right? I tell people block your morning half of the day for prospecting. Anything that's tied to prospecting goes in that half of the day. Now, that could also include a client renewal, especially here in the fourth quarter. But then block your afternoons for account management, for manager time, whether it's meeting with your team or managing an account. Now, it's not going to be a perfect science. You may have a prospecting meeting fall in the afternoon. But my point is this. Unless it's an absolute urgent fire from a client, if a client sends you an email at 10 a.m., if you get back to them by 2 or 3, they're not going to be mad at you. And if they are, they should have called you. So my point is this: get good at blocking your days in halves so you can be laser focused on certain roles you play. And then in that prospecting block, make it a point to send out a good email. Host a webinar. Put yourself on social media. Put a post out there. Make some connections on LinkedIn. Those activities today are as important in prospecting as picking up the phone or pounding the pavement. So block the time in your calendar to do that stuff. You won't be disappointed you did.
Something I read, some of the people that know me, I'm really big with Jeb Blount, Fanatical Prospecting, and I'm listening to his book, I'm listening to his blog, and I'm reading the book actually. You know, I went to school to LSU, so it's got to come in multiple ways, otherwise it won't stick. But one of the things that he asked is that, you know, whenever you're sitting with a client, do you answer your phone? And the answer is no, right? When you're sitting with a client, do you go and answer an email? No. But who's your best client? You are. And so I'm telling this to myself more than anything, is that I'm my best client, and therefore, whenever I need to book time for me and block it and be consistent, because if you do consistent effort, it will pay off. You know, he challenges, if you do 5 minutes or 15 minutes or even 30 minutes of prospecting every single day, where will you be in 30 days?
Absolutely.
And I think the problem is that we get so busy.
Oh, and to your point, Al, the first meeting you should set every week is the meeting with yourself. And so whether you start your day at 7, 7:30, 8, do not open your inbox to start your day. Mm-hmm. Block that first hour whenever you start for your most important priorities. In your case, prospecting.
Yeah.
When that hour's up, check the inbox. That's okay. But block out that time to do that activity, because to your point, there's another book out there I love, The One Thing. They say why most people fail is because they can't handle the monotony of success. It's boring to do that activity day after day after day after day. But if you do that day after day after day, you'll look back 30 days and be, holy crap, was that a beneficial activity? So schedule that meeting with yourself first thing in the morning, and then just rinse and repeat that every day.
Also, he talks about the law, the Parkinson's law. You ever heard of Parkinson's law?
Yep.
And it's the old adage, and I'm reading the old adage that work expands to fill the time allotted. And it's just, the amount of work required adjusts to the time available for its completion. And so, which means that if we don't book up ourselves and don't segment our days into little blocks, business, we gotta get busy. And, so anyhow.
How much time do we have left, Jeff, or Alex? I want to share a couple things I think will be very helpful. Okay, this will be like extra credit. So with time management, especially in the virtual world, because a lot of you are probably still working from home or just in the office all day. Number one, every day, here's what I want you to do. I want you to wake up and I want you to think about 3 things you're grateful for. It is a great way to put your mind in the right place because let's face it, our world is filled with negativity right now.
Yep.
Then I want you to go to work on your biggest 3 priorities for the day. Guess which one you're going to start with? Priority number 1. Now, here's the beautiful thing. There's a good chance, especially with fourth quarter, you're not going to get to all 3, but if you get your most important one done, that's all that matters. And then I want you to end the day looking back, and I want you to celebrate 3 wins. I don't care how small they are. I want you to celebrate 3 wins. And before you wrap up for the day, look to the next day and figure out what your 3 priorities are. I call that the 3 by 3 by 3. You do that day after day after day. You are going to be highly effective. And to your point, Al, you're going to get more done in probably 6 or 7 hours than you're getting done right now in 11 or 12.
Do you have any YouTube videos for yourself or?
Yeah, I also have a YouTube channel. So just go look up my name. I think it's Andrew Neary. Just go look it up. And I do weekly videos, guys, that I put in there. So there's right now probably over 200 videos on that YouTube channel. So feel free to go check that out. Last thing I'm going to share, Jeff. I keep calling you Jeff. Al, wow. I'm going to get off microphone for a second.
Cannot hear you.
Anybody struggling in the virtual world right now with having meetings on Zoom screens? We all are, right? Here's a couple quick tips for you guys to help improve connections with prospects and clients on Zoom. What has changed the most in this virtual world is when you used to sit in a conference room, you only took up, 5% of the space in the room? Now that you're on Zoom, look at this. I'm taking up like 60% of the space. So every movement is magnified. If I go like this, that creeps you out. So what you have to do when you are on Zoom with prospects and clients is number 1, Al, you look really good with this. Guys, you have to be level with the screen. If you're meeting with a prospect or client like this right now, the message I am sending you is I am more important than you. If you are in a meeting right now and your screen's above you, you are conveying inferiority. You're losing credibility, believe it or not. You have got to try to create that screen to be as level with your face as possible. And please, for the Lord of all that is good, have your camera on. You have to have your camera on. The other tip with virtual is just remember this. I have a camera on behind me, behind this laptop. Light, laptop, me. So to get the best light for your screen, always be sitting with the source of light behind your laptop or your desktop. If the light's behind you, they're not going to be able to see you. And all those little details actually impact your connection with your prospects. And the last thing I'll give you with the virtual is try to mirror what your prospect's doing on camera. All those little nuances they're doing, mirror them. Just like you do in a live setting, the mirroring creates that connection. So I wanted to bring that up because I know a lot of brokers are struggling with just connecting on virtual. All those little tips can be impactful for you to just up-level that connection with prospects.
One question that I have, does this happen overnight? I know the answer.
Absolutely not. No, practice. I'll go back to the athlete in me. It's repetition. It's practice, 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 practice. But I will tell you the stuff I shared in the talk, guys, take the time to answer those questions. You can't be all things to all people. If you figure out who it is you want to go after and you create a message for that specific audience, you're going to start building a book with those kinds of people, and it's going to make your life a whole lot happier. Honestly, I would rather have a $250,000 book of business with people I love versus a $500,000 book of business that's driving me crazy.
Yeah, that's awesome. This is good stuff. I eat this up all the time because I'm listening.
It's hard because I can't see anybody, so I don't know. They might be sleeping right now. I don't know what they're doing.
We have 75 participants, so
awesome.
Maybe half of them are asleep. But I understand. One last thing that I want to share is that there's so much stuff available for free on the internet. Ask Google, go to YouTube. I mean, I'm finding thousands upon thousands upon thousands of hours that are available that could help you in sales. And most salespeople do not spend time on themselves.
Self-development here. I'll just share this right at the end. We've said that I help now coach advisors do what I just shared with you guys. Hands down, nothing I coach, Al, is something I've come up with. You can literally go on the internet and find it all for free. Why coaching exists, whether it's me or anybody else, is you need the discipline and the accountability of someone staying on you to do it. The other point to what you just said is personal development is so important. And here's what I see in the insurance industry that I want to address quickly. Everything we do is 80% mindset, 20% skill. So when we struggle in the industry, what do? We look for a new strategy. We start going to all these new conferences. We try to hook up with people to get a silver bullet. Guys, it's not a new skill you need. It's this.
Absolutely.
So go to work on your mind. Go to work on personal development. That is what's going to win. There's not a new strategy out there that's going to help you win if you don't change this. So to your point, Al, absolutely. Personal development, self-development is huge.
So with that, I could ask you a lot of questions because my mind isn't that. But anyhow, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
You share from the heart, and we appreciate it. And so just as a matter of order, we have another session starting at 1:30. Oh, I'm sorry. No. See, yeah, 1:30. Yes. Sorry. And it will be about Centers of Medicare and Medicaid Services. So anyhow, just make sure you visit the virtual exhibit hall and connect with the sponsors. Thank you again, Andy, and we appreciate it.
You bet. Have a great afternoon, everybody.
Bye.